Hello, this is Goku Photo 71, and I'm here with,
Larry the Legend 27.
and we are going to talk a little Metroid. We promised. I'm not a liar. I don't think I'm a liar. Maybe I'm a liar. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk a little bit about Metroid. Okay, so let's start out with what was your first Metroid game?
Metroid 2.
Okay.
That was my first 2D game, and then my first 3D was Metroid Prime 3. I know it's kind of strange to start out with there, but
You want to guess what my first game was?
is this Super Metroid?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Fusion?
Nope.
We
This
could
is
go
gonna
on for hours about this.
this
Was
is
it
gonna date me.
what?
Metroid.
Oh, it was the original one?
Yes, on the NES. I'm old. I'm a dinosaur. Yeah, like almost all of like the major Nintendo franchises, I actually played on the NES when they were new. I actually owned like Metroid 2 was a game I owned that I used to play a lot when I was like on the go. So I've been a fan since the beginning.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah.
You saw it grow up?
Yep. So I be yeah, I mean, so I that's where my fandom came from, and what's your favorite Metroid game?
Oh, my favorite one is it's probably Super Metroid.
Okay, there are two camps in this question. Almost everybody's favorite is either Super Metroid or Metroid Prime. I'm in the Super camp.
Yeah, that's what I was deciding between. I'm pretty sure we could both agree that Metroid Prime is the best 3D game, and then Super Metroid is the best 2D game.
Yes, absolutely. I just love. Oh, I just love the concept of Metroid. I loved the idea of what they did with it. It was in a day and age where they weren't doing like games were very linear. And one of the things that I don't know if you've noticed, okay, is back when that game came out, you would always go right, okay?
Right.
Yeah, you would move your character to the right of the screen.
Yeah.
And Metroid purposely put the item you need to progress through the game on the left side. So you would go right like every other game, not realizing you can go left. And then you would run into a dead end, and eventually you'd figure out, oh wait, I can go that way.
Yeah, I think Metroid was one of the first games to introduce exploration.
Zelda did it before it, but
Well, that's why I said one of the first games.
yeah.
But it was very impressive and definitely it improved technology in its day.
Yeah. The original Zelda game is actually a better game. There are problems with Metroid. One of the biggest problems with the original Metroid. Have you played that one at all?
I don't think I have.
Okay. One of the biggest problems is there is no save feature, which makes the game incredibly hard to play because the issue with it is that you start out with 30 health. So if you want to play the game, you have to grind for like an hour before you can do anything.
Okay.
And there is a fix. There are 7 energy tanks in the game, and you can only obtain 6, okay?
Okay.
The seventh one is at the beginning area. The seventh one, it's actually in Metroid Zero Mission. Do you know how? Do you remember in Zero Mission? You've played that one, right?
I have not. I meant to.
Okay, you should. Great game. Um, there's an energy tank really early on in the game, but it's hidden. And it's there for when you're capable of getting to it, you get an upgrade in Metroid 1. So it won't give you an extra energy tank if you already have your 6, it will just give you full health. So if you don't get that one and you get all the other ones, you have that one to power you up every time you play.
That's good. Yeah, Zero Mission, I still gotta find a way to play that. The original Metroid game is coming to the Switch, so I will be picking that up when that comes.
Yeah, which is going to be frustrating, but definitely look up codes, because there is actually a Zero Suit code. Long before Zero Suit was a thing. So that's awesome. But I think we'll both agree that no matter what Metroid 1 and 2 did, Super Metroid refined it to a science.
Super Metroid is what defined the series.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It holds up to the day. It does things that a lot of games today don't even do. It guides your hand without telling you it's guiding you. It doesn't give you too much information. It's got the right atmosphere. The music is perfect. It's very much like the first one, which I don't know if you've noticed, but they tried to make the music, instead of like a melody, like a lot of games have, they wanted it to feel more like atmosphere.
Yeah. And even with what Metroid 1 and Metroid 2 did, I full-heartedly believe Super Metroid is what made the Metroid series popular. That's what brought in its fan base.
Actually, I would argue that actually is primarily done by Prime. Because I don't know if you know this, the Metroid series up till Prime was never a good seller. And that was due to time. When the games came out, they just came out at bad times.
Okay.
And like Super Metroid came out as the N64 was about to be unveiled.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a bad time, but I'm saying for its generation, or from where it is, like that was the first game to introduce what it was all about. That's what I mean. That's what really defined the series. It was what brought in the fan base and showed them what Metroid could be.
It definitely defined the genre. I'll absolutely give you that. Castlevania, Symphony of Night would probably not have existed if it wasn't for Super Metroid. Which came out right at the beginning of the PlayStation era, so it had so it could breathe and it did well. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating that Metroid never got the love. Now, have you played Other M?
I have.
And what is your opinion on it?
I didn't enjoy it. That wasn't my game. I didn't like it.
Okay, I'm actually in the I'm actually one of the few that actually will say it's a good game. I don't understand the hate. There are some control issues, but most of the story bits make perfect sense.
Well, first of all, it doesn't have the same sense of exploration that all the other games had. Now, if that was my first Metroid game, I would understand, like, I would probably love it to death, but playing other games, knowing what the exploration is like, I would have had expectations going into that game. So there's that. And it just didn't feel hard. You got infinite missiles, things like that.
And those are absolutely legitimate criticisms. There are legitimate criticisms. I like how it introduced Adam. We got to know this person that we have a sneak peek from Fusion. To me, I enjoyed the game. It wasn't great. It was one of the worst Metroid games, but it's a series that doesn't have really bad games. So yeah.
And that's another thing. Samus was always alone on her missions, most of the time, with the exception of games like Metroid Prime 3. Now, I will give it some leeway for that, but with Metroid Other M, it was all around the Federation. They pretty much just told Samus what to do, and Samus just followed orders pretty much, and that was it.
But here's the argument against that, and this actually kind of bugs me when people bring that up, is Samus is a bounty hunter. She's given orders. 90% of the time, or 99.9% of the time, her boss isn't actively there being able to give her orders. So of course they won't be micromanaging. This happened to be or her client, not her boss, sorry, her client. This happened to be the time where her client was there.
Well, I just don't understand why wouldn't she be able to use ice missiles from the start, or
and I'll explain that. I can actually give you a very, very, very good explanation why she can't use weapons. Okay? There's a scene in the game where she's not turning on the Varia suit. I have no explanation. I have no idea why they put that in the game. That completely demolishes my argument. But my argument is that this is not a solo mission. There are allies with her. If she uses a missile, she could kill somebody. It's a situation where you have a commanding officer who is directing people and making sure nobody gets hurt.
Well, the thing is, with the missiles, really, Metroid is the type of game where you would have to aim the missile at that person to
I'm not
remotely
talking about
hurt
the
them.
game. I'm not talking about the game aspect. I'm talking about the story aspect. That there are other people there. That if you use something, you could endanger people around you without knowing that. It's the concept of if you are a SWAT officer and you use C4 on a wall, there could be other people behind that wall. So you have to be careful. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but also for 90% of the game, you don't have somebody with you.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying as a story element, take the gameplay away. Take all that away, okay? As a story element, Adam saying, okay, you have other people there, I want to make sure that when you use something that could harm other people, that I know that I've approved it and I know where everybody is, so I know that you are not near anybody when you're using X thing. I understand that concept. That makes sense to me. There are items in her repertoire that make no sense on that idea, but making it where somebody gives you permission, depending on the circumstance, depending on where you are, can make sense. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's just, I guess some things don't make sense. Like, going back to what you said, the Varia suit. Now,
and as I said, my argument falls apart with the Varia suit. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not have an explanation for that, but yes.
And I want to just bring up one part in the game. The very first part, right before you get the Varia suit, you're going through the lava, all the lava areas. You're taking heat damage. You are getting hurt for most of that time. and you still don't have permission, so why wouldn't you at that moment just flick it on? Like, why do you need permission for
Absolutely.
that?
That's stupid. That does not affect anybody else. That just affects you. So as I said, I'm not here to say the game is perfect. I'm not here to say that there are not story beats that make absolutely no sense. There are, but I am here to say that I think people take some of this stuff to an extreme that it isn't there. Okay, so enough with that game. Let's talk a little bit about Fusion. Have you beat Fusion?
I have beaten Fusion, just recently, actually.
We're not going to go into spoilers, as I want this to be a general podcast. I didn't say it at the beginning, but I will put something where we're not spoiling the end of any of the games, but Fusion I thought was a really good game. It is one of the black sheeps, I think, of the franchise, because as you said, it takes away a lot of the exploration elements of the franchise. Do you agree?
I do agree with that.
It also holds your hand. It tells you right where to go until near the end of the game.
Right.
And that's fine, but it definitely has some issues.
It has some issues, but I would have to say that this game is one of the better Metroid games.
I don't necessarily agree because I think, because when I talk about the better ones, and you haven't played at least one of these, the games that come to mind are 3 games, okay? You can put Metroid Prime 2 and 3, but the 3 games that come to mind are Metroid, Metroid Zero Mission, and Metroid Prime. Those are, like, the 3 best, I think.
Well, I'm not saying it's, like, one of the better games in terms of, like, comparing it to other Metroid games. I mean, it's better in the case of, like, it's more good than it is bad.
Oh, absolutely. That I agree with. But I think all the Metroid games fit that criteria, actually. I don't know one that does not fit that criteria.
Yeah, like, you take the story, for example, and, you know, if you were playing it for the story, you were getting something really good. Because on one hand, you've got Samus, who has her suit has been infected, and you know now you got to go out, you take more damage, stuff like that, and it just works.
No, absolutely. Now let's get into a little bit of the Prime series, okay?
Okay.
So, did you? You said you started with 2. Before you played Prime, did you play Super?
I started with 3.
But okay, so your first wasn't your first Metroid game Return? Metroid 2?
That was my first 2D one.
Okay. Had you, before you had played any of the Metroid Prime games, had you played Super?
No.
Okay. So, were you a little dismayed when you saw this game and it was a first-person shooter?
Not really. I mean, I got Metroid Prime 3, and I decided I'd give it a try because I've only heard great things from the Metroid series. So I was like, okay, if it's really as great as they say, then I'm going to give this a try. So I tried Metroid Prime 3. I really, really loved it so much that I actually, I sold Metroid Prime 3 so I could buy the Prime trilogy. Because I needed to play more. The Prime games, I could tell, were, at that time, because I only knew of the Prime games, that was where the entertainment was. Like, I knew the Prime trilogy was going to be a big source of entertainment for me.
Absolutely. So I was part of the camp that actually I was a fan long before Metroid Prime 1 came out, and I was like, how are you making this a first-person shooter? It's not. And then I played the game and I shut up. I still remember the day where I didn't actually buy Metroid Prime 1 for a long time, but I still remember the day going to pre-order Metroid Prime 2, so excited, picking up the game, going home, and playing it. I think I was 18 when that game came out. No, that came out in 94, right? Yeah, it came out in 94. Or 2004, sorry. Sorry about that. I meant 2004. So I was like 20 years old, and it was a joy. It really was. It was exciting. I still remember that.
Yeah, I was really excited to play those games. Except I didn't find out until way later that they were. But in terms of Metroid Prime 2, if you wanted my opinion, I would say that one was the worst of the Prime games.
Okay. I thought it was an amazing game.
I thought it was an amazing game. All the Prime games were amazing, but
yeah.
I'd say just something about that game was not... It didn't hold up with Prime 1 and Prime 3. Prime 3 kind of introduced a new level of the series, kind of like working together, not feeling like you were alone, and then kind of taking that away from you in a sense. And then with Prime 1, it took away all of your weapons, so you kind of had to start from scratch. And then with Prime 2, I didn't really feel anything there, you know? But it was an amazing game.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, the last segment we will put in this podcast is, what do you want the future? If you got to design a Metroid game, what would it be?
Well, we got a Metroid 1 remake, which is Zero Mission. We got a Metroid 2 remake, Return of Samus. It's definitely time for a Super Metroid remake. And okay. After seeing what they did with a Metroid 2 remake, I can't even imagine what kind of scale they would put for a Super Metroid remake, because just imagining what they did with Metroid 2, how much they increased upon what it was, I can't even imagine it for Super Metroid.
Okay. I have two ideas I'll bring up. Both of these are on my channel. Please go check them out. I'm not going to bring up another one because it's kind of spoilery. So I do encourage you to go look. I will probably have links below. So, one idea I have is remake Metroid 1, but in the Prime style.
I mean, I would like that. I'd buy it.
So, the exact same game, use all the exact same enemies, just, you are, just, like, that would be amazing. And then you could actually remake 2 and 3 and have the original trilogy, but in 3D. I think that would be kind of cool. The other idea I have, is, I always like to explore mysteries, okay?
Okay.
And the idea that I came up with is, so the Chozo are dead, we know that, okay? But,
right.
What if you found out the Chozo actually wasn't from this, galaxy? They actually were from much farther away, and you actually get to go to their home, and you go to this new planet that is actually the original planet of the Chozo. And it's this, like, super advanced, like, city planet. And basically your enemies are Shozo creations, very much like the other games, but they're more high-tech things, if you know what I mean.
I would like that. Yeah, going back to your original idea with Metroid 1 going into a 3D style, I think that would be great. Now, when I played the 3D Metroids and then played the original 2D Metroids, I figured all the way that 3D was the way to go. Making all the 3D games, just like you, remaking the 2D games into 3D. I thought that was the way to go. But when they remade Metroid 2 into a 2D game, I knew there was still hope for 2D. So now I'm kind of on the fence.
There absolutely is, but it's one of those things where we have the 2D remake, which I'll be honest with you, I actually do prefer Metroid Zero Mission to the recent remake of Metroid 2, just because I think it is more faithful to the original. But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that game was amazing, and, I am almost certain that they are going to do a good job with Metroid Prime 4. We got a 2D game and a 3D game, and it's like hand in hand right now because there's hope for both sides.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to see what Metroid Prime 4 looks like. I don't think we need to talk about we're excited about that. So yes. Any last final notes before we end this?
I don't think so.
Okay. And definitely go play Metroid Zero Mission. You will not regret it.
For sure, I planned on picking that up.
Yep. This was Goku for the Sum 1. And we will see you next time.
See ya.